Hey viewers and friends, Andrew back again and welcome to another video, and today I'm just going to be doing a quick review or opinions on the My Super Psycho Sweet 16 trilogy. Now I've actually done a separate review a couple of months ago, I think it was, for the original film, which I enjoyed a lot, but recently I went ahead and picked up part 2 and part 3. Watched them over the past couple of days and I wanted to do a series review. So for anyone who's not familiar with this franchise, it's a modern slasher franchise. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm not really going to give too much away in terms of the plots for the movies, especially with the sequels, because you know they follow on from each other, and if you haven't checked out the original film, well, it's going to pretty much spoil a lot. So I'm going to keep the storylines very simple for the sequels, but this is going to be more of an opinion based video and whether I enjoy and would recommend the trilogy as a whole. So as I said, I've already reviewed this movie, so I'm not really going to go too in depth into it, but basically this one centers around a character called Sky Rotter. She is the main character throughout the movie. Several years ago her father owned a roller dome and basically killed a couple of teenagers. He was never caught. He was on the run, supposedly dead, and then it skips ahead several years later with Sky. I think she's about 14 or 15 in the film. She's trying to get on with her life, and one of the girls in her high school decides to throw a Sweet 16 party at the roller dome. The roller dome's been closed down, but you know, she's a pretty demanding bitch and gets everything she wants from her father, so the father manages to get the roller dome reopened just for the birthday party. She hosts the Sweet 16 party there. Charlie Rotter, Sky's father, makes an appearance once again, comes back and starts killing off some of the guest list. This isn't a spoiler, it's on the synopsis on the back of the DVD, so you know who the killer is. You know, there's no real sort of twists or surprises in terms of that. I really enjoyed this one. You know, I thought it was a pretty solid modern slasher. Not one of my absolute favourites, but certainly far from being terrible. This is an MTV movie, and I was pretty surprised how violent and brutal and gory it was. The killings in this were fantastic. As I said, certainly surpassed my expectations. Pretty violent, pretty gory, and pretty brutal for this sort of film. Now, keep in mind this is very modern, obviously, but there's no sort of throwback elements to this movie at all, and it's very teenage focused, so if that's not your thing, I really wouldn't recommend it. I enjoyed it a lot though, had a lot of fun with it, so I would give the first movie a 3.5 out of 5. Alright, now we skip ahead to part 2. This one follows directly after part 1, and this time around basically it centers once again around Sky Rotter. She survived the massacre from the first movie, and she basically decides to leave town. She relocates some family members that she has had nothing to do with for several years, and basically tries to rekindle her relationship with them. That's essentially what this movie is. To be completely honest, this movie was atrocious. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was a pathetic sequel and very weak and light when it comes to slasher elements. They pretty much dropped all the slasher elements to this movie, and this is pretty much a teeny girl family relationship film more than it is a slasher. There is slasher elements because there is another Sweet 16 party or a party thing. I don't actually think it's a Sweet 16 party actually. I think someone just throws a birthday party at this place called Bloodbath, and you know, the killer returns once again from part 1 and kills off some of the guest lists. So in terms of the kills, I was very disappointed. Most of them were off screen. The body count was very low, probably the lowest body count out of the 3 films actually, and yeah, the kills were pathetic basically. especially considering what I thought of the kills from the original movie, a major letdown. Now, I actually heard after watching both Part 2 and Part 3 that MTV pretty much made the director of the movie tone down everything, like the kills and everything, because apparently a lot of people complained about the first movie and how brutal and violent it was, yada yada yada, all that shit, and being televised on MTV. So from what I gathered, from what I've got from someone else that was telling me about this, is pretty much if they wanted MTV to be involved, they would have to tone down all the slasher elements, and they certainly did so, and not in the film's favour. This movie was pathetic. I do not recommend it at all, and I'm going to give this one a score of 1.5 out of 5. Then we move on to Part 3, which is a step up from Part 2, thank God, but not quite as good as Part 1, especially in terms of the kills. However, as a slasher film, this probably has the most traditional slasher feel out of all three movies, which I was kind of surprised at considering the kills were fairly lackluster. This one also has the highest body count out of the three, and this one follows directly after Part 2. So Sky Rodder, once again, the main character in this one, she survived in Part 2, and basically this one centres around her trying to rekindle her relationship with her sister, who she found out about in Part 2. So the story in this one is fairly simple. There's not a hell of a lot of story in this one, which definitely works in the movie's favour. As I said, this one has a lot of slasher focus to it, and yeah, it's set in a country house, and basically a killer starts picking off the people one by one, and yeah, that's sort of all I'm really wanting to say about that one. I enjoyed this one. I didn't think it was quite as good as Part 1, but I thought it was a hell of a lot better than Part 2. Unfortunately, again, the kills were pretty weak in this one. Most of them were off screen, and when they were on screen, nothing was shown. Basically, the camera was from behind the victim. You'd see the killer killing, but you wouldn't really see anything of what was actually going on. So in terms of the kills, again, fairly disappointing, unfortunately. I think if they had the same kill style as the original movie, this would have been a damn good film, and quite possibly my favourite in the franchise, actually. But unfortunately that wasn't the case. There was one kill that was fairly graphic, but it looked absolutely atrocious. It was one of the first kills, actually. One of the girls was near a swimming pool, and she got a outside light smashed into her head that looked absolutely appalling. Wow, did it look bad. The film wrapped up pretty well, I thought, and ended the trilogy nicely, I thought. It had a kind of soppy ending though, but not too bad, pretty decent sequel, and as I said, certainly a big step up from Part 2. So for an overall score, I'm going to give this one a 2.5 out of 5. Unfortunately, the kills majorly let the movie down, very, very weak, but other than that, it was pretty decent. So yeah, that's pretty much all I really have to say about the My Super Psycho Sweet 16 trilogy. Unfortunately, these movies do follow on from each other, so you kind of have to watch them in order, which is unfortunate because Part 2 is absolutely garbage, and I really would not recommend that to anyone. My honest opinion is they should have just stuck with one movie and not tried to make a trilogy out of it. But unfortunately, it seems that MTV fucked them over and ruined what could have been a pretty awesome franchise. If MTV hadn't bitched and moaned about the brutality of the killings in the original movie, I reckon we would have had a pretty solid modern slasher franchise on our hands. But unfortunately, that's really not the case. But yeah, I do recommend the first film and probably Part 3, but not Part 2. But yeah, as I said, unfortunately the story the stories do follow on, so you kind of have to watch them in order to understand really what's going on. Anyway, that has been my review for My Super Psycho Sweet 16 1, 2 and 3. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.